Hello everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we are going to be doing another character tier list ranking, but today instead of Percy Jackson like it normally is, I'm going to be doing my first ever Avatar: The Last Airbender tier list ranking. Now, for those of you that don't know, maybe you just haven't been paying attention, you haven't been keeping track, or maybe you're new here, I am currently in the process of watching Avatar: The Last Airbender for the very, very first time ever in my life. As of right now, I'm halfway through season 2, so I don't even know how the show ends, and I know little to nothing about the show in general, but I do know that it's a very loved show. I have a lot of friends that really, really like it, so I figured I'd watch it for the first time on my Patreon, and I've been making highlight videos for my YouTube. So before I start editing and posting my highlight reactions for season 2, I wanted to sort of encapsulate the era of my season 1 watch of Avatar: The Last Airbender by doing a tier list of all of the characters, or at least pretty much all of the characters that are in season 1. Now, I give this disclaimer at the beginning of every single tier list that I do. I feel like it's important to do it for this because in my experience, the Avatar fandom can be a little scary if you don't like their favorite character. Tier lists are subjective. That's my disclaimer. So I'm doing this tier list based on how I personally feel about the characters, and my reasoning can be as serious or as stupid as I want it to be because it is my subjective tier list. If you disagree with it, you are more than welcome to disagree with it and tell me why in the comments, as long as we are all being nice and being respectful and just not being really, really mean. So for example, if you're a big fan of the show and Zuko is your all-time favorite character ever, you have to remember, number one, it's my first time watch. I don't even know where Zuko's character ends up. And number two, this tier list is purely just on these characters in season 1. It has nothing to do with anything that happens to them or anything that they do in season 2. It is just these characters based off season 1 alone. Okay? So that's my disclaimer. And without further ado, let's get into the tier list. So I think we have a pretty good list of characters from season 1. If you feel like I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. I had my Patreon members help me kind of put this list together, so I think it's a pretty decent list. And I just kept the regular tier lists as S, A, B, C, D, right? So S is the best and D is the worst. I do actually have a kind of generalization for each tier that I'll go into really quick. So S tier is pretty simple. Those are kind of like God tier characters. They're the best characters in my opinion. Even if they're not in a whole lot of episodes, they're just characters that I really, really loved. A tier is gonna kind of be characters that I feel like are pretty great characters. They may not be my personal favorite, but I consider them to be pretty great characters. They either are super helpful to the plot or they're super helpful to the Avatar gang. Those are the kind of characters you can expect to see in A tier. B tier are characters that are still pretty good characters, but they just didn't stick with me like the characters in A tier did. C tier is characters that exist but are kind of just like nothing special to me. Like they were just kind of there in their episode and that's it to me. And then D tier are characters that I hate. Borderline despise. Like if a character is going to end up in D tier, I probably actively hate them as a character. Or just at least strongly dislike. Okay, so let's go ahead and start ranking. We're starting off pretty easy. We're starting off with Aang. He's the main character of the whole show. I adore Aang. I think he's precious. I think in season 1, he definitely had a lot of growing up that he needed to do. And he did that while at the same time still staying the 12-year-old that he is. I think he's ridiculously powerful. And he's just going to get more and more powerful as the show goes on. And I really admire how much he loves his friends. That's one of my favorite things about like the core 3, like the trio. I adore them just because of how much they love and care for each other. So obviously it goes without saying, Aang is going to be an S tier. Duh. Next we have Appa. Appa is the GOAT. I adore Appa. He flies the gang everywhere and he's literally so cute. And if you guys know anything about me, you know I love a good like fictional creature. So Appa also gets S tier. Next we have Aunt Wu. She was in like the fortune teller episode. She is the fortune teller. And I mean, she's fun, she's funny, but she also is kind of a liar and almost like doomed an entire village of people if it wasn't for Sokka and Aang. So she's gonna go C tier. There's not much else to say about her, I fear. Next, we have Avatar Roku. Now, I don't actually really know much about Avatar Roku as a person. Like, I don't know anything about his past, per se. Anything I do know about him is pretty surface level. But I do find him interesting whenever he's involved in the show. He's like Aang's mentor in a way. He kind of puts his spirit into Aang at one point to help him escape. He seems to be pretty helpful. I am a little hesitant just because I'm hesitant when anybody is a member of the Fire Nation, but I don't hold that against him. I also am pretty positive he was a big part of convincing Zhang to teach Aang how to firebend, so that was pretty cool. I feel like, you know, he's an avatar. I don't know much about him, but I would still consider him to be a pretty great character, especially because of how much he helps Aang and thus helping the Avatar gang, plus he's pretty helpful for the plot. So I'm gonna put him in A tier. Next we have Bateau. He was pretty interesting. I really liked seeing Sokka and Katara kind of feel connected to him because of their dad, who, by the way, I was like thoroughly convinced was gonna end up dead by the end of this episode, but I guess their dad is still alive somewhere, so that's something for another time, I assume. Bateau also took everyone like ice dodging or whatever it's called, and that was a pretty fun scene, but overall, once again, he was kind of just there as a character. I'm gonna put him in C tier, but he's definitely above Aunt Wu. Next, we have arguably one of my favorite characters, in the little cabbage boy, who just pops up in the randomest of places and is always just like, my cabbages! I think he's so funny. I feel like it would be insane to put him in B tier because he's really such a side character. It's very unserious. But because he makes me laugh and I really like the bit of him just being everywhere and saying, my cabbages, I'm going to put him at the top of C tier, just because I find him very funny. Next, we have Chief Arnook. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. I can't remember. He's Princess Yue's dad. He was fine. Once again, I feel like we didn't really get to know him too much. I did really like the scene with him and Sokka after Yue died. You can tell he really loved his daughter. I think he's a decent character, so I'm going to put him in B tier. Next, we have Fire Lord Ozai. We actually don't know much about him at all in season 1. As of right now, where I am in season 2, I still have not seen his face, but I've gotten to know a little bit more about him as a character. But in regards to just season 1, we really only see him in the flashbacks that we get for Zuko. And I may not know much about him, but I do know that he's never making his way out of the bottom tier for me. Sorry. I doubt anyone's going to be upset over that, so I don't even know why I said sorry. Next, I have the Freedom Fighters. I've combined the Freedom Fighters into one group of people instead of doing them individually, just because I feel like that's a little bit easier. I honestly did really like the episode where we met Jet and the Freedom Fighters. The Freedom Fighters kind of give me the Lost Boys from Peter Pan vibes, even though Jet is more like an evil Peter Pan. But we'll get to that when we get to Jet. I quite liked the Freedom Fighters. Yeah, they are friends with Jet, but by the end of the episode, they're kind of standing up to him and they don't really want to go through with his plan. They do end up helping him anyways, but you can tell that there's definitely resistance there. So I'm going to put them in... I'm going to put them in C tier. But I mean no offense to the Freedom Fighters. Next, we have Gran Gran. I loved Gran Gran for the short time that we had her. Clearly, she did an amazing job at raising Katara. And she did as good of a job as anybody could with someone as crazy as Sokka. I really loved learning additional information about her at the end of season 1 with Master Pakku. That was a really great addition to her, in my opinion. And when you think about it, Gran Gran kind of invented feminism. So I'm gonna put her towards the top of B tier. Next, we have Monk Gyatso. I think that's how it's pronounced. Gyatso? I can't remember how it's pronounced. Maybe it's Gyatso. Anyways, I loved him. He's like a mentor and borderline father figure to Aang, which I thought was really interesting to see in Aang's flashbacks. It was really nice to see, like, throughout those flashbacks with Aang, when the Council of Elders was, like, pressuring Aang because he's, like, the next Avatar, but he was still so young. It was really nice to see Gyatso, like, there for Aang and make sure that Aang still got to be a kid, still got to have fun, still got to laugh. I really loved his relationship with Aang in those flashbacks, and the concept of, like, him just being dead was, like, super, super sad. So I am also, surprisingly, you guys might disagree with me on this, I am going to put him in A tier. I just feel like he was such a good mentor to Aang for only really 12 years of Aang's life. I feel like he did a really great job in those 12 years, if that makes sense, even though we haven't really seen much of it. So I'm going to put him in A tier. Next, we have Han. I don't really have much to say about Han. I almost didn't really include him in this tier list because he kind of means nothing to me. I like his haircut, but other than that, I'm going to put him at the bottom of C tier. I don't actively hate him, so he's not D tier, but he's getting in the way of one of my favorite ships of the entire show, so he gets bottom of C tier. Next, we have Haru, and I have said this many, many, many times in my reaction videos. One thing about me is that I'm going to love a good earthbender. I love me some good earthbenders. I really enjoyed his episode, and I feel like honestly his episode kind of solidified earthbending as my favorite. I always love and appreciate when, like, a one-off episode character is really, really nice and helpful to the Avatar gang, and Haru and his mom were definitely super helpful, even though it ended up backfiring for them. I also really liked his episode because I got to see Katara sort of risk herself in order to save him, which I thought was a really great addition to Katara's character. And I feel like when it comes to these sort of, I guess, like, special guest characters, when they're just sort of in a one-off episode, I feel like how much I like their episode helps determine how much I like those characters. And since I really liked the episode that Haru was in, he is gonna get B tier. And I stand by that. Next, we have Uncle Iroh. Although I went back and forth on him for a little bit, I think at the end of everything, Uncle Iroh ended up being one of my favorite characters in season 1. Not only do I find him to be incredibly funny, I also think he is low-key one of the more powerful characters in the show. We just don't really get to see a lot of it. I do, despite my feelings for Zuko in season 1, I do really, really like the relationship that Iroh and Zuko have. I really do admire the way that Iroh loves and cares for Zuko so deeply, despite the fact that Zuko is a pain in the ass like 90% of the time. I don't know if this is crazy, especially just being based off season 1. Iroh is S tier for me. And maybe it's because I'm a fellow tea drinker, so I understand him, but I just really loved him in season 1. It feels really weird to me to have a firebender character so high up in my tier list because I feel like I'm just programmed to just actively hate anybody that's a member of the Fire Nation. But I think Uncle Iroh is easily an exception to that feeling. So he's an S tier. Now, could he possibly be above Appa? Maybe. I don't know. But I just feel like Appa flies everyone everywhere, so we have to give him that respect. And I'm going to put him above Iroh for now. Next, we have Jung Jung. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I'm so sorry. Once again, like I literally just said, I do struggle to like any member of the Fire Nation. Unfortunately, that's just like a bias I have, I guess, when I watch the show. But I did really like his character. I think he did his best when it came to teaching Aang firebending because Lord knows it takes a lot of patience to teach Aang anything, okay? And he did actively fight against Commander Zhao, who we'll get to by the end of this tier list, but spoiler alert, I hate Commander Zhao. So he gets bonus points for that in my book. And thus, I shall put him in A tier. Shocker. Next, we have Jet. Now, I personally was bamboozled by Jet. Propaganda that I did in fact fall for. Jet. I was bamboozled by him in his episode because I thought he was cute, okay? Me and Katara really bonded in this episode because we were both blindsided by Jet's charm and we didn't see that he was low-key crazy. I want to put Jet in B tier, but he didn't end his episode being a good dude. So he's gonna get C tier and he's actually gonna get below his freedom fighters because at least they stood up to him. Jet, If you could just be a normal guy, you could have been A tier. If you were just normal and not crazy. Anyways, moving on. Next, we have June. Not much to say about June, except for the fact that I literally hated her and her freaky little creature that she rides around on. I hated her a lot. She's going into D tier because there's not much else to say about her. Next, we have Katara. Katara is kind of everything to me. Throughout season 1, I think she easily became my favorite character, especially out of the entire trio. By the end of the season, she's so badass. She's so powerful. She literally becomes a master of waterbending. Like, that's amazing. Not only does she become like super powerful by the end of season 1, but she becomes like so much more sure of herself, and I really enjoyed seeing her step into herself like that as a character. She's funny, she's caring, and she is like fully 100% devoted to her friends, and I very much admire that quality in her. I love her. You guys can say I'm crazy for this, but I'm putting her in S tier, and she's actually above Aang. Sorry, I don't know if that's crazy or not, because I really don't know how the fandom feels about certain characters and how they feel about these characters at certain stages, like in the show. But I feel like at this point, in just season 1, like Aang is still pretty immature. I know Katara is only 2 years older than Aang, but she has a lot more maturity than he does. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. Like, I think it's meant to be that way, obviously. Not only do girls kind of just mature faster than boys, like in the first place, like in real life, but also I think Katara had to mature pretty quickly in her water tribe, just like with the position that she was in and whatnot. And then when she goes off with Aang and Sokka, like she has to be mature because she's dealing with Aang and Sokka. So she is kind of mother. She is kind of the mother of the group. And I love that. I think that she's just fantastic. I think that she's easily my favorite character in all of season 1. Well, actually, second favorite character, but we'll get to that in a second. She's my favorite main character. I'll say that. Next, we have King Bumi. King Bumi is kind of crazy. He's a little bit psycho. And to be very honest with you guys, his episode was not my favorite. So, therefore, he's not necessarily like my favorite side character. Truly, I think his episode ended up being a little bit boring to me because his episode followed directly after the episode where we met Suki, and I just spent the entire episode missing Suki. I do like the backstory between Bumi and Aang and how they were friends. I thought that was really sweet. But grown-up Bumi is just like a little bit too crazy. The whole episode, he was also very much reminding me of like old Loki. If anybody ever watched the Marvel show Loki, like that's who he was reminding me of because of the horns. But in the end, I feel like his character served an important enough role to the plot. And like I said earlier, I do love a good earthbender. So I'll probably put him behind Gran. His episode was just really not my favorite episode. So, sorry. Next, we have the Mechanist. I didn't know that he didn't have a real name until I had to look it up. I guess they just didn't give him a name, but he's Tio's dad. I liked him. I thought he was like fascinating enough as a side character. And then I was very disappointed when we found out that he was making weapons for the Fire Nation. Boo! But in the end, he had a great turnaround and decided to go against the Fire Nation, so I'm going to put him at the top of C tier. Next, we have Meng. She was also in that fortune teller episode. I thought she was funny. I thought her obsession with Aang was kind of funny. But other than that, she just wasn't really that much of a standout to me. I'm just going to put her right above Aunt Wu. Next, we have another one of my most favorite characters in the whole show. I don't know if you can see behind me. I have a Momo plushie. My Momo plushie was the first like Avatar merch that I ever bought. Because I got very attached to Momo. When we met him, I just adored him and I love him and I think that he is so funny. Now, like I said, tier lists are subjective. So while Appa is probably technically more helpful to the group, my bias, unfortunately, does go to Momo. I think he has a little bit of a bigger personality despite being such a little guy. And I love him. And every time he does anything, I am laughing at my screen and having a great time. So Momo's gonna go in S tier above Appa. And I'm sorry, because I'm sure a lot of people ride for Appa. I still love Appa, but I think I just like Momo's personality a little bit more. Next, we have Master Pakku. We met him at the end of the season. He's a pretty great waterbender, but unfortunately, we do have to battle a little bit of misogyny with his character. We have a little bit of misogyny we have to get past. He does eventually let Katara train with him, and I hope that that is showing him moving on from the misogynistic tendencies of the Northern Water Tribe, and it's not just he's only letting Katara train with him because he knew Katara's grandma. Like, but if another girl came and was like, hey, I want to learn how to waterbend or whatever, he would still turn her away. I hope that's not the case. So I think he kind of got over that misogyny. And once we sort of moved past that, I think he's pretty great. He's really nice to Katara. He clearly likes her a lot by the end of season 1. And I did really like the backstory of him and Gran Gran. I feel like I have a theme with my A tier right now. It's like, you may not be like the craziest character, but if you're a bender, guess what? You're getting put in A tier, I guess. I think I'm going to put him... hard to say. I'll put him here. I'll put him right there. I think that's a good place for him to be. Next, we have the pirates. This is another group that I've like combined into one picture because I didn't really want to like go through them individually. And all I have to say about them is screw these guys. I don't like them. They irritate me anytime they're involved in the show. They pissed me off. They attacked the Avatar gang, even though Katara did steal from them first, but I don't fault her for that because I don't care. They also did try to kill Zuko, and even though Zuko's not my favorite, I wasn't about that. I was Team Zuko in that situation, so guess what? They're also going down here. I don't even know how to order D tier because I just despise all the characters that are down there. Anyways, next we have Sokka. Now, Sokka started out just a wee little bit sexist, and I actually remember when the live action show was coming out. I don't know anything about Avatar or the live action show really, but one of my friends who does was talking to me about how they just like eliminated Sokka's sexism from the live action show and how they hated that, etc., etc. So I expected Sokka being sexist to be a much bigger part of his character, and it wasn't. Like, it was kind of just there for like, what, 2 episodes, and then he met Suki, and then it was gone. So that being said, him being sexist, having sexist tendencies didn't really bother me all that much because he got over it super quick. It was like such a minuscule part of his character. I expected it to be so much bigger based on how upset people were over the live action show. So he was a little sexist and then he got over it. And honestly, once Sokka meets Suki, like, he kind of just is like fully in a way a different character. He's funny, he's goofy. But when it comes down to it, Sokka would do absolutely anything for his friends and the people that he loves, and that is a trait that I do really, really admire in a character similar to Katara and Aang. Also, I adored Sokka and Princess Yue. Like, adored them. I only cried once watching season 1 of Avatar, and it was when Princess Yue died because of Yue and Sokka. Like, I loved them. That they were my favorite ship of this season. So that did a whole lot for Sokka's character for me. Even though I already loved him at that point because that was the end of season 1, him and Yue just made Sokka all that much more important to me. So of course, Sokka's gonna go right up in S tier with the rest of the Avatar gang. Next, we have Suki. And would anybody call me crazy if I said that Suki was maybe the best character to me in all of season 1, even though she was only in 1 episode? Would people call me crazy if I said that? Probably. She may have only been in 1 episode, but her character left a major impact on me personally. I think her friendship / relationship with Sokka was awesome. And I loved getting to see her like work with Sokka and basically just like dismantle any sort of misogyny that he had inside of him. I think Suki is so badass. I think that she's an amazing fighter, and I think that she's an awesome character. And personally, I want Suki to be in every episode ever. I want her to join Avatar Gang and just be in every single episode because I love her that much. Selfishly, I want to put her here. That is where I selfishly want to put Suki. However, I think I'll just put her here. Because Katara really is that girl in season 1. Especially by the end of season 1, like, Katara is that diva. Suki, right behind her though. Those are my 2 favorite characters of season 1. You guys can call me crazy for putting Suki above Aang, above Sokka, above whoever, but I loved her. I loved her so, so much. And if a character impacted me that much off of just 1 episode, for me personally, I think she deserves to be that high up in my tier list. What can you say? Next, we have Tio. Tio is the son of the mechanist. He was a fun and interesting character. His love for flying was cute. He showed Aang that all like the people that were on gliders do have spirit. Aang was kind of in a pissy mood for this whole episode, rightfully so, but he was kind of in a piss poor mood the whole episode, and I think Tio handled that pretty well. I'm gonna put him in B tier. I thought he was a cute character. Next, we have Tyro. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name. This is Haru's dad. So we got another earthbender, and I love my earthbenders. Although it was just like a one-off episode, I did really like seeing the relationship between Haru and Tyro, like, develop. I understood Tyro's reluctance to, like, fight back against the Fire Nation, but I really liked seeing how once he saw that Haru was fighting back, he stepped up and also fought back. I am also going to put him in B tier. I'm going to put him right behind his son. You guys can call me crazy. First of all, I have a major earthbending bias, okay? That's just how it's going to be for the rest of the show, I fear. You guys can buckle up and come along for the ride, or you can get off here, but I'm going to have a major bias towards earthbenders. And I really liked their episode. If I liked their episode, like, they just had more of an impact on me as characters. It's that simple. Next, we have Princess Yue. And guys, I literally loved her so much. I loved her in Sokka. I cried when she died. Like, I adore her. It was honestly shocking that they managed to introduce me to this character and then kill her off in the next episode. So I only had her for 2 episodes and I cared about her that much. She is going, you guys can call me crazy, she's going in A tier. I think that if a character makes me cry, they should be in one of the top tiers. I think it's funny, when I made this tier list, all of the characters that were at the bottom, like, they were randomly put in that order. So I think it's funny that the order ended up with Commander Zhao and Zuko being the last 2 characters, because I probably have the most say about these 2 characters. First up, we have Commander Zhao. Maybe possibly the worst fictional man I've ever met in my life. I hated him. Hate actually might not even be a strong enough word to describe how I feel about Commander Zhao. Despised him. Loathed him. Like, those words aren't even strong enough. He is the epitome of the type of man that I hate. I hate Commander Zhao so bad that my hatred for him makes me like Zuko. If you watched my reaction videos, you know how crazy that statement truly is, okay? I cheered when he died, and he is essentially why I can't really find myself wholeheartedly liking any member of the Fire Nation, once again, except Uncle Iroh. Like, he makes me hate every Fire Nation character that I meet. I almost want to put him below Ozai, because I don't know that much about Ozai in season 1, technically. I just know that he burned Zuko's eye, so I know he's a bad dad. But I feel like Commander Zhao actively does worse things, but then again, as I'm saying that, I am realizing that he's under the command of Ozai, so I'll put Ozai at the very, very bottom. But Zhao is right there next to him. And to be honest, I feel like if Ozai didn't even exist, like, I feel like Zhao would still be the evil bastard that he is. So how much of that is really Ozai's doing, who's to say? But it doesn't matter, because he's dead and he's out of my life, so. And last but not least is Zuko. Where do I even start with the character of Zuko? I think that Zuko is fascinating in season 1, but I don't really mean that in a positive way, believe it or not. I definitely am starting to like him a lot more in season 2. Like I said, I'm halfway through season 2 right now on my Patreon, which if you want to watch and you don't want to wait for the highlight video, you should go join my Patreon and check that out. But so far in season 2, I am definitely liking Zuko a whole lot more than I ever did in season 1. But this tier list is based off of season 1 specifically. I'll start with the positives for Zuko. I like seeing his relationship with Iroh. I think Iroh is a very important figure in Zuko's life. I think without Iroh, Zuko would be so completely lost and with, like, no hope. Zuko, however, and I think this is my favorite way to describe Zuko, he is an enigma wrapped inside of a mystery, stuffed inside of a brat. And I do mean that in the nicest way possible. Kind of. Zuko is the way that he is because of his father and because of the environment that he grew up in. I understand that. It explains why Zuko is the way that he is, but it by no means excuses that behavior, in my opinion. And because this is based off season 1, and I truly have no idea where Zuko's character goes, I just know that people end up liking him a lot, and people always say he has a really great character arc, and that's something I'm really looking forward to seeing. But as of season 1, like, he just walks through life calling everyone filth and trash and just treating people so poorly. I just can't get behind that. I can't. He also does kind of annoy me with his desperation to capture Aang. And I know that he's doing that to get his honor back with the Fire Nation, and that's totally fine. But that aspect of his character just annoys me. Sorry. Sorry if that's a crazy take. In season 1, we do get a flashback of Zuko, so we can like see sort of how he grew up in the Fire Nation, and we can see how awful his dad is to him, and we get to see how his eye got burnt. It was burnt by his dad. And to be honest with you guys, when I was watching season 1, that flashback actually didn't do all that much for Zuko's character for me. I actually got into some hot water over it in my YouTube comments. People didn't like the fact that that didn't really do a lot for me. But I will give you guys a little bit of a spoiler for my season 2 reaction. In season 2, we get another flashback for Zuko, but this flashback includes Zuko's mom and Zuko's sister, and that flashback did a whole lot for me, for Zuko's character. I loved that flashback and getting to see Zuko with his mom. So you have stuff to look forward to for season 2 for sure. I'll tell you that much for free. But like I said, the flashbacks for Zuko in, I think it was like episode 12, didn't really sell me on caring about his character necessarily. However, what did get me to really care about his character, I guess, is episode 13, when he is like the blue spirit or whatever it's called. That, I feel like, was a glimpse into the character of Zuko that I'm starting to see a lot more of in season 2. And that was a glimpse into the side of Zuko that I really liked in season 1. And I personally really enjoyed episode 13 and what it did for Zuko as a character in my book. Plus, it definitely helped Zuko that I actively hate and despise Commander Zhao. So like when Zhao is trying to kill Zuko, I was team Zuko. You know what I mean? When they were fighting in the finale, I was like, I need a t-shirt that says Team Zuko. Like, I was rooting for Zuko. So, to be honest with you, by the end of season 1, I'm not sold on Zuko's character. But also, I don't think I'm meant to be sold on his character at the end of season 1. I think that's kind of the point. And I'm glad that this tier list put Zuko at last, because I literally have no idea where I want to put him in this tier list. I kind of want to put him in D tier because I hate him. I don't like him in season 1. He annoys me. He irritates me. I don't like his character in season 1. There are bits of his character that I get to see in season 1. It's like very sporadic and it's very minimum, but there's bits where I get to see part of his character that I do like, and I'm getting to see a version of Zuko that is not the Zuko that he presents to everybody around him. I like that side of Zuko. I like the side of Zuko where he's kind to his uncle. That side of Zuko I like, but the other 99% of him I hate in season 1 at least. So like my first instinct is to put him in D, right? But at the same time, while I may not like him as a character, even in just season 1, his character is so complex. Like, I'm clearly talking about him the most out of every character on this tier list. So I feel like that definitely speaks to something. I can see the complexities within Zuko, and that definitely intrigues me. Even though I don't like him and I don't like the way that he treats people, I can see the potential for where his character is going to go in seasons 2 and 3. So that does make me a little bit more interested in him. It's just a matter of where should I put him in this tier list? Can I just not put him anywhere? Is that an option? Oh, guys. If I was ranking the Zuko that I hate, I would put him here. If I'm ranking the Zuko that I like, here. And I feel like I'm going to keep him there because I don't want people to yell at me in my comments. But also, after episode 13, I really did start to feel a change in how I felt about Zuko. Just like seeing him rescue Aang, even though he was only rescuing Aang like for his own reasons. Like he just wanted to be able to be the one to bring Aang to his dad so he can get his honor back. Like, that then began sort of Zhao, you know, trying to kill Zuko, and then Zuko and Zhao fighting, and the finale. So I think I'm okay with having Zuko there. He's complex enough, and he gives me enough motivation to talk about his character for so long every time I do talk about his character, that I feel like he deserves to be in a higher tier for just season 1, even though I do not like him. And I want that to be known. I'm not afraid or ashamed of the fact that I do not like Zuko in season 1. I just know that he is super complex, and you can dislike a good character. That's a thing. You can dislike a character even though they're like a really well written and formatted character. So I'm fine with Zuko being there. But yeah, that does it for my season 1 character tier list. Let me know what you guys think of it. I think it's a pretty decent tier list. I actually really can't wait to do a tier list like this for season 2, because I think season 2 has a lot of characters that I do really, really love in it, specifically Toph. Spoiler alert for my season 2 reaction, but I love Toph. I adore Toph. So yeah, let me know what you think of my tier list of these characters. And remember, like I said, tier lists are subjective. We can share our opinions, but let's keep it nice and let's keep it cute in the chat. And really the last thing I want to say about this is I love Suki. This is me coming out as a number 1 Suki stan. I adore her deeply, and I hope I get to see more of her in the show as the show continues on. But yeah, that is it for my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. If you haven't, make sure you go and check out my reaction highlight videos to me watching season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. There are 3 parts because it's a long season. I think I'm only going to break season 2 into 2 parts. Also, speaking of season 2, if you want to watch me watch season 2 so far, I think I'm on episode 14. Or if you want to watch my full reaction to any episode of season 1, make sure you go and check out my Patreon. Over there you can watch my full unedited reaction videos to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you can watch as far along as I am into season 2, so you don't have to wait for the YouTube highlight video. We have a lot of great discussions over there in the comments of every episode. Shout out to my Patreon members that helped me put together this list of characters for this tier list. I appreciate it. But that pretty much does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.